evening, those in the sanctuary tonight and those on live stream. My name is Maureen Hoyt. I am the former minister of the Granada Hills Center for Spiritual Living. I'm Minister Emeritus, and you are welcome here tonight. This is a discussion group facilitated by my cohort, Reverend Nancy Woods, and the people here who are providing the entertainment for the evening is their version of discussing what it is that we're saying. Reverend Kathy is lighting the flames of faith tonight. We open our service as our call to service called Lighting the Flames of Faith. We perform this ceremony to promote the universal consciousness of life, which acknowledges that all peoples, all faiths, all sentient beings come from that one great universal presence, which we call spirit. Fundamental to this truth is the unifying nature of all religious thought and experience, which we honor here today. As Reverend Kathy lights the first candle, it is for the Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. The second candle we light for the shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous peoples, the way of primal spirituality. We light the third candle for Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. We light the fourth candle for Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. We light the fifth candle for all forms of Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion. We light the sixth candle for all forms of Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness as the path of love. We light the seventh candle for all forms of Islam, honoring the path of submission to the will of God as the highest calling. We light the eighth candle for the universalistic religion of Baha'i, honoring the path of unity and peace. We light the ninth candle for all forms of new thought, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. We light the 10th candle for all those who are as yet unaware of the power and presence of spirit in their lives and for the space we hold for them, as Reverend Mike would say, in our hearts and here at the center. And as Reverend Kathy lights the healing candle, please put silently into the light the names of anyone you wish to have experience the healing flame of God's eternal love.
I'm thankful, so grateful. I'm one with the Spirit all around me. I'm thankful, so grateful. I trust in God. I surrender. I surrender. I'm one with the Spirit all around me. I surrender. I surrender. I trust in God.
How grateful I am to be here in this room, one with that Spirit, as I recognize this one power, this presence, which is the Spirit of God and the Spirit of love, health, wealth, creativity, and peace. And I'm one with that Spirit, one with its love, health, wealth, creativity, and peace. So I declare tonight is a perfect and complete idea in the mind of God, and I now am learning more at a heart level, feeling at a heart level, living the science of mind. So therefore I am demonstrating the wonderful things of life, of perfect love and relationships, perfect health, financial freedom, wisdom and wealth, creative expression and peace. I am so deeply grateful that I am demonstrating my good, that my good is here right now. And I'm so grateful for Reverend Nancy, Reverend Maureen, for Renzen, everyone here and online, creating a wonderful, enlightening evening. And so with deep gratitude, I release my word to the law. I know it is done, I know it is so, and together we say, and so it is.
So it is.
Good evening, everybody, here and online. I will give a few announcements for the center. Next Wednesday, September 6th, we have the Taizé service, and it's the spirit of the equinox meditation. Catherine Hack, our practitioner, will facilitate this powerful reset, and that will be at 7 p.m. On September 11th at 7 p.m., Wayne Moore's mixtape tribute concert takes place. Get your ticket to attend a glorious night of song. Go to theater, theatre 68.com, and I believe the theater is in North Hollywood. September 29th, class of self-mastery begins. This course is 8 Mondays from 6:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. Take a journey with Reverend Nancy Woods and Andrea Recht, licensed practitioner. There will be deep discussion, powerful practices, fun exercise, and real results. The course fee is $235. Please see the flyer in Sparks Hall or sign up or contact Danny, the church administrator, at our number 818-363-8136. And another announcement, every Sunday we have practitioners available for a 2-minute tune-up in our prayer treatment room. And if you'd like to contact a practitioner from our center, you can go online at CSLGH.org. And now, for the fun part of the evening, our discussion with Reverend Maureen and Reverend Nancy.
Yay. Thank you, Kathy. You know, Reverend Kathy is always eager to fill in for whoever didn't show up, but this is actually really her night to be here. So, Kathy, come around and be in the circle, please. Yeah. So tonight we're kind of extending what we started last week a little bit. We started on page 167 last week, where Ernest Holmes talked about expanding our consciousness. The piece last week was all about consciousness, and how Ernest said on the very last line that, you know, we want to be able to take our spirituality wherever we are, wherever we go, whatever we're doing, because at one point he said, not in that particular essay, but in one of the books, I think it's The Essential Ernest Holmes, where he said, our consciousness comes before us in all things, that we can walk into a room and people will know intuitively that we are good people, we are kind people, and we are generous people. So I just thought that was an interesting thought process. But he also said consciousness being the sum total of everything we've ever believed to be the truth about ourselves up to this point in time, that you know, a person comes into a room and they're miserable. And he said that also Carolyn May said that miserable person will attract the other miserable person in the room. And it's so interesting how that happens. Or if we are not self-aware, we will attract people into our experience unconsciously. We unconsciously invite people into our experience over and over again. I was working with a client when I was at Westlake that she had 3 different marriages and 3 different alcoholic spouses. And there are bugs in here. I've got another gnat on me. I don't know where that's coming from. Anyway, she had 3 different. Did everybody hear that on the live stream? The law of attraction. I'm attracting gnats to me. The interesting part about unconscious invitation is we do it over and over and over again until we don't. And that's the part of evolution of consciousness. All of a sudden we look back in retrospect and we can see where I haven't done that again. I finally moved beyond needing to attract the alcoholic spouse in my life. So interesting how that happens until it doesn't happen anymore. And when we look back and we see, what changed? Nothing out there changed. Something in here changed. So, take it, Nancy.
Now, I'm smiling when you said until it goes away. That's one of the reasons why we have these discussions, because we're looking at our spiritual practice, and I think the spiritual practice is really what this is all about, how each individual actually practices. So in order for us to get into this, and because this is what we're going to talk about today, is our individual understanding of spirituality. And all of us have an individual understanding. Even though we call it science of mind and we have Ernest Holmes' view of it, each one of us has an interpretation of what we have learned so far. So we're going to read this first. So Mary Jane, would you start us off?
Okay, page 168 of Living the Science of Mind is your own understanding. Your consciousness of good is the law of elimination to every discord. Your treatment enforces the law and is the activity of its power. Be sure you do not deny your own understanding.
The inertia of human thought, rising as it does from the morbidity of race consciousness and the mesmeric grip of race suggestion, seeks to claim that you do not have the power to heal, the consciousness to heal, or the spiritual capacity to heal. Recognize this false argument for what it is. It is nothing claiming to be something. It is a lie claiming to be the truth. It is a habit of thought unwilling to surrender itself.
You must know that the thought of truth dispels this mental inertia and frees the consciousness. Heal the thought, and the law of perfection will establish harmony.
Know that it does this immediately. Every treatment must incorporate within it the consciousness of completion, of perfection in the here and now.
Use positive statements to declare that the divine power which you use frees you from the hypnotic belief that would deny you the privilege of helping all who come to you. A practitioner must continuously be conscious that all the good there is his or hers, not some part of it, but all of it. It is not only available, it is workable. It is not only ever present, it always responds to him or her.
Good.
That first paragraph, this is really a nice, succinct description of what we are here and why we are here. I think that that first paragraph, the consciousness of good is the law of elimination to every discord. And when we take up a practice, from my experience, when we take up this practice, a lot of times we want to learn the principles and know what they are. But then there's that next step where we want to embody the principles as our belief system. And we will, I spent the first 20 years trying to rationalize why certain things had to be in order for me, that were already in existence. And then I realized it actually is as simple as learning the truth. And this is what he's talking about, the consciousness of the truth of who and what we are and what we're able to do with our life. And I think that the consciousness of good makes it sound like we're going to have the good over here and then that's the bad. But it's actually the consciousness of good is us flowing with whatever is in our heart in such a way that we are experiencing it from an inner trip into an outer experience, instead of the outer becoming the determination of how we are going to experience life. And so we live in a society which that has been the framework of life. And as it said in this first paragraph, we can change our consciousness.
So wouldn't it be a wonderful affirmation if we changed that first sentence to, my consciousness of good is the law of elimination to every discord? That's an affirmation that begs to be repeated over and over and over again. So not that we want to facilitate a sort of willy-nilly discussion like Ernest Holmes would say. What would you say if you had to identify a discord in your life? I'd like that. It doesn't say specifically what discord is, because Bonnie's discord will be different than Bonnie's discord, even though they have the same name. But my feeling of discord can appear to be very real. Eckhart Tolle talks about that in A New Earth. My feeling of discord. Not that I am discordant or I have discord in my life, but I feel discord in my life. And I want to reiterate this again because I do it so often. Being discordant has no beginning and end. It's a lifetime experience. But feeling discord has a beginning and an end. And as Eckhart Tolle says, when we feel the discord, investigate it. Find out where it's coming from. We may not readily know what it's coming from because there are so many discordant things coming to us right now from so many different directions. And even something as small as having a fruitless conversation with a sibling or with a good friend might feel discordant to us. So there are so many things that fall under that category of discord. And when he says there's nothing to heal, there's only something to know. So we have to be the ones to investigate what's going on in our own lives. Because, people can offer, let's say, advice without solicitation, and sometimes we want to say, well, I'm fine. There's nothing wrong. And then we go home and we start thinking about the discord and create a 3-act play that lasts for 3 weeks afterwards, So that's the human experience. But at the level of spirit, I would love to have a life without discord. How about everybody here? Yes? Yes. What specific discordant thought, discordant feeling, discordant issue do we deal with on a daily basis? If the same thing comes up over and over again, we have practitioners here, we have ministers who will do work with you on things like that. And that's the beauty of this teaching. We're not here to give advice. We're not here to tell you what to do. We're here to draw out from you what you already know about yourself.
That's why that very last sentence in the first paragraph, be sure you do not deny your own understanding.
Yeah.
And that is a very significant statement.
So be sure I do not deny.
Yes.
Be sure.
I do not deny my own understanding.
So if we look at that sentence and think about what is going on in our lives, we can see what our own life is, what we're thinking about, what we are believing, and what we have bought into. To me, that probably was the biggest shift that in my spiritual journey is when I realized that I'm having these experiences because I have bought into something. And if I work with the idea of knowing the truth about myself, I can have the things that I want.
Truth with a capital T. Yeah.
The truth is really that awareness that I think more for me, it was really understanding that I had the ability and the power and everything within me to shift how I thought of things. And as soon as I could do that, then my experience would change.
Oh, absolutely.
So, and it really was not so much, and I was thinking about when you were talking about the discord that's in our life, it wasn't so much as the discord parts, because for a while I was fixing all these discord things that were wrong. My current view of it is what brings me joy, what brings up the love in me, what brings me harmony, what is harmonious to me. And so I find myself not so much as not in the fix-it mode as moving towards the joys of my life. And that has made a world of a difference. Jennifer.
What would be your a good definition of consciousness of good? How can you describe that? What is
That there's an Aramaic phrase, gonzo, which loosely translated means everything happens for good. But we can't see it sometimes in the present moment. When I see discordant activities or discordant people or bad behavior sometimes, I look at that and I think to myself that I may be judging somebody else's behavior or somebody else's conversation about what's going on for them. But the consciousness of good means that I step back and say, okay, that's just maybe errant behavior. It's not who that person really is. That person is a demonstration of God on this plane of consciousness. But boy, it's a darn fine disguise you've got there. You know, the God isn't showing right now. Anybody who's had children understands what I'm talking about, right? The consciousness of good is, as Dr. Walker said one time, he said, don't let your consciousness of good get in the way of the best. You know, we sometimes, Ernest Holmes uses that word good a lot throughout the science of mind. But he also says that we came here to live a superlative life experience. And we're the ones who hesitate in the experience of that superlative life experience. We came here to be the best. He said, never let your good get in the way of the best. But see, if you don't know what your good is, you'll still be out there looking for it someplace out there. That good that he's talking about is within us, within us.
So your example would be, what you gave is that the consciousness of good is you seeing in this discord the good of them.
Yeah.
They're into like race consciousness doing this.
On the surface, it might not look like it.
It might not
though.
look like it,
Yeah.
but you know for them, there is a consciousness of
Yes.
good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Something back of everything is
Something
good.
back of everything, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I was curious if you can help me understand what, in the second paragraph, it says, the inertia of human thought rising as it does from the morbidity of race consciousness. Can you help me understand the morbidity of race consciousness?
So he's not talking about race as an ethnic
As in
consideration.
The human race?
Yeah, it's the human race. And the morbidity of human race consciousness can sometimes really be a dreadful burden, especially when it feels so contrary to what we've been led to believe in the science of mind. And that's something that is very, very difficult for new students of the science of mind sometimes. But what about this? What about that? You know, in first year, people will ask, well, what about Hitler? What about Jeffrey Dahmer? I'm dating myself when I say that, but, you know, there are questions about why there's cruelty in the world. You know, the race consciousness is about, sometimes is about survival. And it's also, I want what you have and I'm willing to get it any way I can, kind of thing.
I think there are 2 points that I would look at for myself for that, is that notice I don't see things as superior or inferior as far as being is concerned. And then I feel like each being is the divine moving on its own path. And the other thing is that when you say consciousness of good, I have a sense that if it's disharmony, not so much as looking at the other person and what's outside of me, I find that it's a tap on the shoulder to tune in to what's in me, because what's outside of me is part of the thought process that has gone, consciousness that I'm already experiencing. But if I can go within and see the harmony and the love, I really beginning to understand that that's where my whole experience is coming from. And the idea of how I grew up thinking that I had to learn from out here how to experience being has brought into my experience myself. I've brought into my experience a lot of things that are not necessarily fluid with my spiritual self. And I find myself having a sense of about fixing people, controlling people, or changing things, or all those type of terminology. When actuality, I'm looking at the consciousness of good when I can let go of the discord thinking that I am experiencing. I really feel like I'm coming into it more than ever, that I really have the power to determine the harmony of life that I am supposed to experience. And it's all coming from, because in that first sentence he said that we are eliminating every discord. In other words, if I'm experiencing a discord, my harmony instinct's gonna come with my consciousness shifting into an awareness of
The consciousness of good.
good, of truth and good. So, does that make,
Yeah, so like if I was having some disagreements with my husband or something and it was causing discord, I kind of have to make a shift within myself because it could possibly be coming from within me is causing the discord.
if you're experiencing discord with another person, you can give them the power to be the author of that, or you can take it back within yourself and be the author of your own experience.
Oh, exactly, yes, and diminish the discord because you're thinking.
I think we have the power.
Okay,
Okay.
okay, I understand.
So then the second part of that sentence, though, where he talks about the mesmeric grip of a race suggestion, you know, if we're not conscious of what we're thinking, we can get caught up in the hypnotic grip of race suggestion so easily. You go down the freeway and you see a billboard that says, get involved in crime. Okay, that billboard was on Santa Monica Boulevard as I'm driving down toward to visit a friend, and I thought, why would they put a billboard up that says get involved in crime? It was an advertisement for the police department, and they want people to get involved. When you see something, say something. But that's not what the billboard said. Get involved in crime. It was literally telling people to be criminals, and they couldn't figure out why there was so much criminal activity around that area on Santa Monica Boulevard. Removed the billboard and the crime abated, okay? It's Mesmer was a master hypnotist, and he performed hypnosis. And so mesmeric is a word that was coined from his name. You probably already knew that. But that hypnotic grip of race suggestion is what gets us into trouble a whole lot of times. We see something and we interpret it in a certain way, and it becomes real for us, you know. So that's what, you know, being vigilant about what we're thinking, what we're seeing, what we're reading, what we're watching on television is today more important than it ever was, I think. Nancy.
I think of Rumi saying, beyond the notion of right doing and wrong doing, there is a field, I'll meet you there. Mm-hmm. And so much of it is us judging and not understanding. So much of my discord that I'm causing within myself is kind of, well, or you know.
So the world according to Nancy Shriver.
Right.
Yeah.
And I remember hearing a song once that said, I can see peace instead of this. And what I was thinking of, I can see peace in all of this. Somewhere underneath everything is the consciousness of love and peace and good. And that is, that in a sense, that is an onus for me to bring to my consciousness so that I am less judging and more understanding and loving.
Yeah, well, and with social media, with television, with advertisements all over the place, we're bombarded in a way that, you know, I grew up in a town of 5,000 people in the Rocky Mountains of British Columbia. I had culture shock moving and living in San Francisco in the early 60s. The part of the civil rights movement and the women's rights movement. And I felt like weighted, heavy all the time, because it seemed like everybody was so angry. And why are you angry about the color of somebody's skin when that's something that is inherited, is their culture, is their ethnic background. Why would you be angry at somebody who speaks a different language? Why would you be, anyway, it was almost too much. And I had to find some way to find an outlet for some of the discordance that was in me. And so I started investigating other religions. And I'm here to tell you that Satanism is not high on my list of things to attend to, yes. Mary Jane lived in San Francisco around the same time I did, and I think we had a similar experience on so many different levels, yes.
Oh, yeah. Nancy reminded me, you talked about a song. I was thinking of John Lennon's Imagine. Wouldn't that be consciousness of
Yeah.
good?
Yes,
And
Yeah.
overall the discord?
yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine all the people living life as one. Yeah. Yeah, so, anybody else want to add to that paragraph, except for the part where you finish that whole sentence? The mesmeric grip of race suggestion seeks to claim that you do not have the power to heal, the consciousness to heal, or the spiritual capacity to heal. How many times have you been told that, you don't have that ability? That's why we have medical doctors. That's why, look, one of my teachers was Fletcher Harding. He was a divine science minister. He had the church over on Lindley for so many years in the San Fernando Valley. And he said one time, why would you say that a person who heals themselves, like for instance, Frederick Bales, one of the master teachers of the science of mind, healed himself from type 1 diabetes in the early 50s. And because he explored where the diabetes came from, it was his thinking that created that. Everything that happens in our lives has its mental equivalent in some way, some form. And he decided that was not going to be his experience. And he simply affirmed his way out of having diabetes. I have seen people do that with a diagnosis of cancer. I've seen, even Ernest Holmes talked about it when, he said that he pricked his finger on a thorn when he was out walking with Reginald Darmer. And Reginald took his hanky out of his pocket to stave off the blood. And Ernest said, no. He said, watch what happens. Nancy knows the story. And all of a sudden, the blood coagulated and it stopped bleeding. And he said, Reginald, the same white corpuscles running amok in the body that cause cancer are the white corpuscles that coagulated this blood and stopped the bleeding. It's what we think as opposed to what happens. So looking at that, we all have the power to heal ourselves. Disease is not put in us by anything or anybody else. I know that might be a tough one to wrap your head around, but Nancy will tell you for sure why it's not supposed to be tough.
I've been smiling because my 300 teacher with Barker was Eric Pace, and Eric Pace, he also healed himself of type 1 diabetes, which in medical terms is no such thing. Impossible, but he did it. That was one of the things that made him become a minister, he said, because he didn't know it was possible, but he did it. I spent my whole career in medicine, and being a nurse, and one of the things that I wanted to merge it and blend it. But it's recently I have come to the conclusion that believing that anything can be healed is really a truth that more of us could buy into. And I want to say it from a place of I recognize that we have been saying this for years, and that we are trying to buy into a thought process and still hold on to what we got. But if we buy into the idea of what we're able to do with our minds, then this becomes a reality for any of us.
Yes, we have to believe in our faith.
Yes.
The microphone. It really is about healing the sense of separation from God, from spirit. Regina.
To carry forward what you just said about healing, you know, I do believe that. However, we've all seen situations where it doesn't happen for one reason or another. And that brings me back to something we discussed, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, the first time I started to come to one of the Wednesday night things, where it was about cause and effect. And that where Ernest Holmes was saying that sometimes when cause is set in motion, it comes around to a completion. Could that be why sometimes there isn't a healing, that it's from prior causes maybe set in motion? And maybe, some things may be very complex maybe to understand about, that there's not a healing in that point in time, because obviously that happens with some people. They may practice everything and yet they don't get that healing. It's to me, it seems like it might be because maybe prior causes that have gotten to a certain point where they have to work out or something. I don't know. I was asking what you think of that.
Now, I think that there's a belief system going around that what you just described is true. And that we believe that there's a strong belief system that certain things can't be healed.
Well, I don't believe that they can't be healed, but obviously they're not always healed, so there must be some explanation for that.
Yeah,
why someone isn't healed.
For myself personally, it is my growth in awareness. And that's what it's been about. When I didn't believe it, I wanted to believe it. I intellectually thought of it, but I didn't totally buy into it. And what I'm learning is, to the extent that I do buy into it, it happens. And sometimes my belief goes but so far. I may say, tell Maureen that I know and understand and do the treatment work and it's done. But when I'm going down the street and I'm saying, but this is, I'm looking at this and it's hurting. So I've already went back to the other belief system. And that is what I found, and working with patients over the years, I saw so many people that come in and have the same problem. And the attitude of the patient usually determines the experience that that person has with it. And that is one of the things that really reinforced my belief that it is the person's individual belief system that they have to work with, and not necessarily dependent on anything outside of themselves. Because a person that is upbeat and doing what he needs to do and find it easy, moves through an experience much easier than a person that is worried and concerned and uptight. So it's the belief system, I think, that that actually determines, and I'm saying this because I think that what I am riding into right now is that I can shift anything if I can shift my understanding and belief.
So can I interject
It may not
here
be
a little bit?
overnight. It might not be overnight, though. I think maybe that's for people.
Okay, so are you talking about a healing as opposed to a cure? Is that what your question is? People aren't necessarily cured, but they're always healed.
You were saying he was healed from type 1 diabetes.
Yes,
so-
yes,
So I guess I interpreted that to mean he no longer had it,
that's exactly right.
and it didn't come back.
It didn't come back.
So yeah, I guess I was talking about that.
Put the microphone up to
Oh,
your.
sorry. There's people that do have a great attitude and do seem to be doing everything right, but they don't get healed for, whatever reason. I don't think it's always because they're thinking bad along some line. I don't really know.
No.
I'm just,
It's
No,
not thinking
okay,
bad.
so here's something that people have a really hard time with. And I'm just gonna say it. The ultimate healing is death. I'm just gonna say it, okay? So there's that, if that person has embraced whatever disease they happen to have had, or whatever happened to them. The thing about saying, I'm ready to leave this plane of consciousness, then what I started to say about Fletcher Harding, and I lost my train of thought. He said some of the most spiritually evolved people were the ones he met on their deathbeds, because they had come to an acceptance, as Nancy was referring to, of the fact that, this was it. And also he said that there, before we became self-aware, before we became aware of the fact that we have the capacity to heal ourselves, just as we have the capacity to create disease in ourselves, that we have years and years of accumulation in us. And sometimes the strength of our convictions have not mobilized sufficiently for us to move beyond this idea that this is a terminal
now I
illness.
think you might be
Yeah,
answering something.
yeah,
I think
okay,
what you said
so
might
there
explain
is
why.
that. Now, that's not to say that there isn't a healing, though, if that person passes away, because there is very definitely a healing at some level.
So I think we need to give ourselves a little slack, because pure consciousness is the way we were born with pure consciousness. And every day we listen to the consciousness of the people around us, and so we were influenced by that, whether we wanted to be or not. And so what has happened to the race consciousness is that there happens to be a negativity bias right now, just kind of in general out there in the field. And although and I listened to this wonderful man this week on neuroplasticity towards positivity, and we believe, and it has been proved, we used to think that our brain was, solid, that you couldn't change the epigenetics even of the brain or of ourselves and our thought, and they're realizing that that's just not true. So there are many people now who are, as far as the race goes, are really focusing on on positivity experience, like
Okay.
we're talking about.
Oh, I just want to stop you just for a second, because we don't have a whole lot of time left. But what I want you to understand is that we are only affected by the race consciousness to the degree that we believe in the negativity of the race consciousness.
Absolutely.
Yes, okay.
Okay, absolutely.
I just want to.
Absolutely. And so, it takes tremendous knowledge, I think, to overcome that, and tremendous
I don't know that it's
maybe not
knowledge.
tremendous, not knowledge,
Yeah.
or just faith
Self-awareness.
and self-awareness.
Okay?
And
The
anyway.
consciousness of good that Mary Jane talked about earlier,
Absolutely.
it's still there in
Right.
spite of the apparent negativity that seems to be looming large right now. And yet, if the transcendental meditators when they decided to focus on Washington D.C. for a summer and just see the peace and serenity of Washington D.C., the crime rate went down by like an
40%.
incredible percentage. You know, it's not just about a whole group of people changing something. Edgar Cayce said the consciousness of one person can change the consciousness of an entire room. One person. So what we want to, yes.
I just want to go back to what Nancy was saying in relation to the question, is that we don't know if that person went off thinking that it was all good, that it was going to happen. You know, that, like you said, it has to be constant. You can get off the track of healing yourself, and maybe that's why that person didn't get healed, because their consciousness wasn't 100% there all the time. So it's constant vigilance to your consciousness of good
Yeah.
for healing.
Well, possibly, or it could be along the lines of what Maureen was saying earlier, that the conviction, the way you put it, wasn't at that point.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
That's what she's saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
the same
Yeah.
thing. The conviction was not there. It started to lack a little bit. So we don't know that, but I can only suppose that that's probably what happened. It's not a very strong conviction.
You know, I was just thinking, how much do we base our understanding and belief on what people did already, instead of what potentially can be? You know, that is really the thing that I have been looking at. You know, it's based on almost what you know, they didn't heal this, they did this, they can do this. And if you go back to what these people
We
are
have to
telling
look at
us,
these countries.
all the time, you know, it's a lot of things out here. I feel we bought into a lot of stuff that we don't realize we have bought into.
Well, and I just want to thank you two for bringing this forward so that all of us can be more aware of our consciousness and
I
how.
don't think this
that-
conversation is over.
I know.
I mean, seriously,
No, and I
don't
think
think
it's
over.
wonderful, and I really thank you so much,
Yeah.
because I think it's such a wonderful thing for all of us to realize the healing power within each of us. So, yay!
So when we used to do this years ago, after we were done, we weren't finished. After we were done with the circle up, we were never finished. So we all gathered at this little restaurant that used to be at the corner of Zelza, and it was a pie place.
Yeah.
And we would
It's a
have
pie.
coffee and pie, and sometimes close the restaurant.
Carrying the
because
conversation
There
deeper.
was still so much that needed to be said. We didn't have live stream in those days, but we couldn't keep Renz in here until 10 o'clock at night. Okay, so the last part, Nancy, read the last couple of sentences so that we can move. You're all practitioners. We're all practitioners.
A practitioner must continuously be conscious that all the good there is theirs, is ours. Not some part of it, but all of it. It is not only available, it is workable. It is not only ever present, it always responds to him. You know,
To us, yeah.
you know, it's just so sweet when you understand and look at this and these teachers and what they keep telling us. You know, And for years, it seemed like I could reach back there and get some other reason why it didn't happen or that. But right now, I don't even, I'm stopped dragging up the past and stop dragging up the reason why not.
Yeah.
And just trying to figure out, okay, what do I want the joy, how do I want to heal? How can I do this today? And it seems like that's how the step, it's one step in front of the other. I'm going to get, it's getting better and better and better.
So Ernest Holmes said, all the ologies are for information only. Phrenology, zoology, psychology, astrology, numerology, what have I left out? Yeah, whatever. All those ologies are second tier to spiritual mind treatment. Spiritual mind treatment. Because when we do spiritual mind treatment, we go to that perfect place of peace within. There is, I don't know how long it takes you to do treatment, but when I put everybody in my treatment first thing in the morning, sometimes I look at the clock and then look again and 10 minutes have passed. Not that I name everybody by name, but those who have asked to be named by name, I do that for them. But that's the beauty of spiritual mind treatment, is when you say, and so it is, the word amen in Aramaic means, and so it is. So we say, and so it is, amen, so we're saying amen, amen. We're cementing the spiritual mind treatment and letting it go out and do its work by means of us. We are not the healers. I am not a healer. I am a facilitator of your healing. Yes, my consciousness is sometimes being borrowed by someone who asks me for prayer, because that person needs me to believe it for them until they can believe it for themselves. Now, I think the bigger plan, and what Nancy was alluding to, when we get to that place where we believe it for ourselves to the same degree that the person we've asked to do treatment for us or prayer for us, we have arrived spiritually. I mean, it's like a big leap in consciousness. It's like that Gay Hendricks book where the small fishbowl is here and the goldfish is leaping into the bigger fishbowl. Yeah? So, you know, this needs to be reread. Take your papers home with you tonight and see how it conforms with 167, the one that we were talking about last week. We got so many responses on this from people. So it's really on people's minds right now. You know, it's on my mind. You know, having gone through a little surgery that went sort of sideways, you know, I think about, I'm sitting here. I moved through this and I came out on the other side. And I think coming out on the other side, you see life differently than we did before something drastic happened to us. So,
And you know, and one of the things that we're going to do a closing treatment, but the things that you share here, there are a lot of people that are in the same place.
yes.
And as you express it, and sometimes it's good to look at, they can look at how they're thinking themselves. And it makes them thinking where their belief is and what they understand. And
So-
to know that there is.
Just to know, just a point of order, we won't be doing the discussion group the fourth Wednesday of the month because Ginny Gameri is doing an open mic night on that night, and so.
For September.
For September, yes.
Yeah.
So come and avail yourselves of that. That was so enjoyable to watch all those people getting out in faith and setting aside their fears and standing up here and doing things that I probably wouldn't have done at their age. So that being said, Nancy, any last quick thought? Yes?
Thank you again. I have a
Yes.
quick thought. This is just a report that I can give. I've had all these things with my body and it ages, and it's just doing that. What I've been doing is something I learned in a Silomar. I took a workshop where you write to your body, and your body writes back to your mind. And I'm keeping a book, and it is astounding what I'm coming up with. And my body actually talks to my mind. This has just been, the very first time I did it at a Silomar, the first thing my body said, "Why do you make me sit so long? We work too hard." Really useful to do.
Yes. Yes, thank you for that. Thank you for that. Reverend Nancy, you have,
Open mic is?
open mic is like an entertainment night where people come and they sing, some people play an instrument, some people tell jokes, some people tell stories, come up here and tell stories. And,
Did they record the last one?
yeah, I think if you,
Okay, I think,
if you want to see the last one, Regina, it's on YouTube. Yeah, it
Okay.
was like 3 or 4 months ago.
okay.
All right.
So as we,
Nancy has to do a quick treatment.
oh,
Yes.
I really a quick treatment. Okay, so thank you all for being here. And it is with this awareness and understanding that each one of us step into a consciousness of gratitude, appreciation, where we accept and know that that infinite intelligence, that divine presence that is the essence of our being is what is guiding and directing us to know the truth about ourselves. As we physically, mentally, emotionally, and any other way know that the divine presence is who we and what we are in every ounce, every cell, every organ, every thought, every aspect of our being is this divine saying yes to life. And with this, we embrace this evening and all that has unfolded, knowing that the love of the universe is guiding us from this point on. And we accept it wholeheartedly as we say together. And so it is.
There's a basket in the back. If you'd like to leave a love offering, we would love to
Accept it.
accept that from you. Thank you.
One thing, let's all know what temperatures cool substantially.
Yes. Well, in 2 days, you still have two more days. Yes.
Next week's going to be really beautiful.
Yes, it is.
And it's going to continue that way.
Yes. I'm gonna reread this tonight.
It was a good
Yeah,
one.
it was one.
It was a good one, wasn't it? The one next week is too.
Thank you, everybody, for being here.
Okay, good night, everybody.
Bye, Kathy.